You spoke about some of your questions concerning 9/11 and how your father had helped write some of the rules for intercept. Can you speak to your questions concerning 9/11, please?
Well, there was a big story about in the India Times, which is a very good newspaper, and it was about 9/11. And we had just found out, the world had found out that Mohammed Atta, who was a Saudi Arabian guy, but seemingly working for Osama bin Laden, that he was in charge of the planes that crashed into the New York buildings. Well, the story is really more complicated. What struck me immediately, my father was director of air commerce under Franklin Roosevelt. My father, who was one of the original Army Air Force flyers in World War I, he had put in a lot of sort of safety things. In the event of a hijacking of a passenger liner or any plane that they knew about, that fighter planes would be scrambled, that is, sent up into air immediately within minutes in order to force the plane down, to change course, shoot it down if you had to. And you don't need orders from the president, the vice president, or anybody else. That's the law. Well, they didn't go up after 9/11. Everybody knew what had happened, and the planes were still on their way to Washington to hit the Pentagon, when suddenly from Otis Air Base comes one fighter plane. Otis Air Base is in Massachusetts. Might just as well have been in Canada. That was the only fighter plane which, according to law, they all should have been up there, and not one went up. Well, that could only happen if somebody had told them to stand down, not to respond to what was, after all, their sworn duty. That's the Times of India broke the story, and then that well-known radical rag, the Wall Street Journal, also wrote about it. I thought by then places like the New York Times would have waked up, but the New York Times is incapable of waking up to anything important.